You need to accumulate generational wealth. Just as quickly as you make it, you can lose it. That has a lot to do with how much you can accomplish in life, because you can either look at a glass half empty or half full, right? Depending who's pouring the water. I look at myself and I look at my brain, my mind, whatever you want to call it, as a computer that every so often I have to delete. Okay, I had to download and then I had to upload with new information. That is the beginning of the magic to success. Been a labor of love, it's been a lot of work, it's been a lot of sacrifice. There's been a few moments that I wanted to cry and give up, but I know that the mission is always stronger than any challenge that we can face.
What's up, Disrupt Nation? My name is Tony Delgado, and welcome to the Disrupt Podcast. On this podcast, we're going to be talking to the top influencers, creators, movers, and shakers who are on a mission to change the world. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're on iTunes or Spotify, make sure to rate the show 5 stars. It helps out the show more than you know. Now let's get into it. What's up, Disrupt Nation? I'm here with my good friend, Peter O Estevez, my friend. Good to see you.
Tony, good to see you. Thank you for having me at your space today.
Yeah, thank you
Looking forward to our conversation.
Flying in, yeah. So for people who don't know you, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background before we dive into AI.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Peter O Estevez. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an author. I'm an international speaker. And I also have a movement called Excellente, that it is a movement to inspire, educate, transform, and empower the Latino community. And we do that through a series of venues, a traveling series of venues that we take across the United States. Our mission is to visit every single major city in every state across the United States. And our venues is that particular program is called Latin Talks, and it's a series of talks and conversations where local Latin leaders share the answers and solutions to challenges and experiences they once face. So it's a community empowerment project. It's a life legacy project. It's a passion project that I'm very proud of. And
you've come a long way. I remember when we first met. We met maybe about 4 or 5 years ago now, and it was just sort of an idea. And so we were talking about it on the phone, and then he's like, okay, let's have lunch tomorrow. I was like, do you live in Puerto Rico? He's like, no, I'll be there tomorrow though. And you freaking hopped on a plane, and we did like a mastermind over at the Vanderbilt Hotel. And so I've seen you take it from sort of this idea phase now to, multiple cities all around the country and media coverage and a huge impact on all these people. So, congratulations and hats off for doing all that.
Thank you so much. It's been a labor of love. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of sacrifice. There's been a few moments that I wanted to cry and give up, but I know that the mission is always stronger than any challenge that we can face.
Definitely. So before you got into this is kind of a philanthropic thing that you're doing. Before you got so philanthropic, how'd you get so rich that you are able to become so philanthropic? Let's talk about where you started. Were you born with money or with a silver spoon in your mouth and you inherited it, or where did it come from?
Absolutely not. I am actually the epitome of what you call the American dream. I'm one of 13 children. We migrated to the United States when I was 10 years old with my 6 brothers and 6 sisters, plus mom and dad. There was 15 of us. We lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath frame home, less than 900 square feet. The boys would sleep in the living room in sleeping bags, and the girls would sleep in their own bedroom. Wow. So I, very early on, what I felt that I needed to do in order to escape poverty was to pursue the almighty dollar, right? Mm-hmm. I knew that if I believed at the time that if I achieved financial success, all of my problems were going to go away. Right? I was going to be just perfect. I was going to be perfect. Well, I was fortunate enough to achieve massive financial success. I built one of the largest real estate development and construction companies in South Texas, and I exited that business in 1999, many years ago. Very, very well. So we sold to a national franchise company. And I was, at the age of 39, 40 years old, I was pretty much laying back, not doing much of anything. I had a few startups from there. And then I was very fortunate in 2012 when the Mexican government, under the presidency of President Enrique Peña Nieto, privatized the oil and gas industry. And I was one of the early adopters
Yeah, like
Okay.
pioneers,
I was
right?
one of the
Yeah.
pioneers that went down there, set up shop, set up an office, a company called Egomex that grew into being one of the largest consulting companies for Canadians, American, and Mexican companies of its time. We grew it. We were very fortunate. And today I still in that space in the energy, gas, and oil sector. We own the only privately owned refinery in the country of Mexico.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And so how did you I guess navigate from the world of like real estate into the world of oil and energy, right? It just seems like from sleeping on the floor in the living room, right, in the bunk beds, in the sleeping bags, right? Um and what kind of, maybe talk about your mindset shifts at these different pinnacle points in your life.
My parents, my father had a third grade education and mother had a sixth grade education. Mom was 15, dad was 18 when they got married. So they were literally children raising children.
Wow.
There was a lot of poverty, dysfunction, and illiteracy at home. So statistically, I was destined to repeat that cycle. Okay. I was destined to be illiterate. But I also saw other qualities in my parents. My father was a hard worker. He was an incredibly resourceful man. And mother had an incredible, uncanny faith. So I think when you think that combination of hardworking, resourcefulness, and having a lot of faith, when you apply them together, that is the beginning of the magic to success.
Time out. If you've been getting value out of this episode and you want more episodes like this, I want you to smash the like button, hit subscribe, and then hit the bell so that you get post notifications every single time we drop more of this exclusive content. If you're an entrepreneur that wants to take their game to the next level, then this show is absolutely for you. And the best part, it's completely free. And anyone that subscribes today, we're going to be giving out $100,000. No, we're not. But still subscribe. It's free.
That is the beginning of the magic to success, right?
Yeah.
So I took those things that my parents did. I also took an inventory of what they did that I didn't like, I didn't think was healthy, was productive. And I discarded that part of it. Okay. So I worked very, very hard. I enter an industry, as most people in the real estate business, as a sales agent. Within a year, I had my own company. Okay. Within 24 months, I had turned a company from 12 agents to 150 agents. I'm very laser focused. I don't want to hear about 1,000 different projects. I focus on the projects that I focus in. As I did in the real estate business, I focused on a niche. I focused on the market. I studied the market. I worked that market very, very hard. Back then, there was no social media. There was not a lot of the technology that we're very fortunate to have today. So a lot of it was a lot of man hours, a lot of a lot of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual work, and I did that. And we went building a company within a 24 to 48 month to selling over 1,000 units a year. Okay, over $80 million in gross sales. That's a lot of money back in the 80s and back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Okay, so
a lot of money now.
Yeah, we were a pioneer in the affordable housing industry. Now, let's face it, we caught a lot of great breaks. They're not lugs, but there were breaks. There was a lot of factors that fell into place. Under the Reagan administration, we were fortunate enough to be able to have somebody that passed the amnesty law, where the amnesty law allowed many illegal immigrants to become naturalized citizens by the process of being here a certain period of time. So that became a big market that we specialize in. Again, focusing on the niche, focusing on a certain thing, not trying to sell 10 different items at one time. Focus on the Hispanic market, focus on providing service, focus on providing financing, focus on providing first-time home buyers programs, that kind of stuff. And we're very focused on that business. So, long story short, there was I achieved a tremendous amount of success, but not with a lot of complexity. I still had what I call the survival mindset. I still thought like that 10-year-old broken immigrant little boys that was abused, that lived in poverty, and no matter what he accomplished, he was not good enough. So I had to numb a lot of those feelings through alcohol and overspending and mismanagement of resources and relationships. So that was a growing process for me. It was not all a bed of roses, for lack of a better word. I had to go through an emotional and spiritual growth period, in order to be able to accomplish the things that I have accomplished today.
Well, like you said, I mean, having money doesn't fix all your problems. Sometimes it makes your problems bigger.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, okay. So to recap, like you said, laser focused. I heard that as a theme. Like once you found something that worked, you were laser focused on your niche. Like you were relentless, right? And then you took the two things that you learned in the household, right? The faith from your mother and the hard work from your father. And you know what? It's so interesting because a lot of people have one but not the other.
Absolutely.
So you can have a whole bunch of faith, but if you don't put in the hard work, we were talking about this yesterday at dinner. It's like God has better things to do. Like
God has a lot of problems, and our minute little problems are not one of them. Yeah.
So you have to have that faith and believing in something bigger, right? But then you have to put in the hard work, right? And if you just have the hard work, but you're not thinking big enough, well, then that's going to limit you as well. So it's like those were kind of the three keys to your success: the hard work, the faith, and then the laser focus, just sticking with it, not having that entrepreneur ADD.
Absolutely not. And I think also, we call it pivoted, right? I call it resourcefulness, right? Where you see a problem, and instead of focusing on the problem, we already know there's a problem. Let's focus on the solution. Let's focus on how do we get out of this mess? How do we pivot? How do we transition from this process? Never looked at it. One thing that I learned from my parents, regardless of having 13 children, regardless of living in a 900 square feet home, where we're cramped up in 2 bedrooms, regardless of all of that, my parents always had a good attitude. They were just happy, joyous people, and that has a lot to do with how much you can accomplish in life, because you can either look at a glass half empty or half full, right? Depending who's pouring the water, right? So, and what attitude you pouring the water with. So I learned from my parents to keep a good attitude, to focus on not looking at things as a problem, rather a challenge. How do I overcome it? How do I become better at it? How is that going to make me grow? And I became a studious. I became a student of learning. I became a student of modeling people that were doing better than me. And I still do that. I look for people that are smarter than me. I look for people that are doing things that are edgy, that are different, that are challenging, that are daring. And I stick to those people. I'm attracted to those kind of people. And that's where I hang my hat on. Those are the people that I bet on. Those are the people that I want to join their missions. I want to join their passions. I want to be part of their movements.
I love that. What's one lesson about money that you wish that you knew sooner?
I guess the biggest lesson about money that I wish I would knew sooner was that we all need financial literacy. It doesn't matter how much money you need to have.
Almost the more money, the more literacy you need, right?
The more literacy that you need. And I think the biggest thing that I realized very early on is, okay, so you have a lot of money, but if you don't have the right team around you, the right CPA, the right accounting, the right lawyers, the right tax lawyers that can guide you through it, the instruments that you need to accumulate generational wealth, just as quickly as you make it, you can lose it or you can spend it. So that's probably the biggest lesson for me, because very early on, I wanted what a lot of young, broken kids wanted. I wanted the Mercedes, I wanted the Porsche, I wanted the Ferrari, I wanted the pinstripe suits, I wanted the nice shoes, the Gucci belts. I wanted all that junk. Okay, that at the end of the day depreciates the minute that you buy it. Okay, so early on, I accumulated all these material possessions that within a very short period of time were worthless. Yeah. So it took me a while to become disciplined, to be able to understand strategies for financial freedom, okay, for wealth creation, and more importantly, for generational wealth, because I don't want my children or my grandchildren to go through this.
Well, they say statistically, a lot of these luxury brands, their consumer is actually not people with money. It's
Absolutely.
people that want to appear like they have money. And that's why they actually saw a huge uptick during the pandemic, because people were taking their stimulus checks and going to the Gucci store.
Oh, yeah. You would see lines of people at Gucci. You would walk right by them. I'd say this with a lot of love and respect. And you could tell that there was no money behind that. It was an impulse purchase, right? So I think a lot of people, many of us, and I was one of those people at some point, okay? We make a lot of impulse purchases or decisions because we want to feel better about who we are, where we
Mhm.
come from, or where we are at that state of mind at that particular period of our time.
Well, yeah, and you see it all the time with like actors, celebrities, rappers. They get all this money and then they end up going broke, right?
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. You know, I truly believe, and it's just something I live by, Tony. It took me a long time to understand it, but I understood it the minute that I was at a breaking point in my life. I lost my mother, I lost my father. 2008, the economic crisis. I was losing a lot of assets. My wife asked me for a divorce. So I literally almost found myself in the same position I started, broken. The
Wow.
only difference was that I was not 10 years old anymore. And I was no longer a Mexican little boy that had migrated to the United States. I was a grown man and now a father, and I had a son at home that I had become his primary caretaker, right? So for the very first time in my life, I realized, okay, so I've been able to achieve this massive amount of financial success. I'm at the brink of losing a lot of it if I don't make some right decisions, okay? But at the same time, I have not worked in other areas of my life. Okay. I believe that every single one of us operate from a 5 pillar system, which is the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, or the financial. And when we are able to take care of those, all of them simultaneously, we are able to exit what I call the state of survival. When you exit the state of survival, you become present and available. You become here and the now, and you're able to see your life with clarity and possibilities. You're now operating from a state of flow, which is something that I have learned to do since. Okay. And it doesn't matter what challenge I'm in, my life has clarity and has possibilities. So I'm able to go through it. Okay. Not to it. Okay. I'm able to go through it. I'm able to operate with clarity. I'm able to operate with possibilities. I'm able to see a challenge as an opportunity for me to grow and to learn from.
Yeah, and that's like the keys to like unlocking the good life. It's so crazy. We joined Tony Robbins has this mastermind called the Platinum Program, right? So we joined this Platinum Program. It's like close to 100 grand to get into this program, and so you're networking with like crazy individuals, right? We're like the youngest people in it, right? Me and my
Sure.
wife, and I just remember when we first joined the group, I went to lunch with a lot of people, and so spent like some one-on-one time with different individuals, and then networking at these parties and different events and stuff. And I went to lunch with a guy from the program, and I remember just feeling like an asshole, like just feeling like I was just so aggressive in just my aura, in compared to this guy who's so calm. And, I asked him, I was like, how are you so calm? How are you so centered? And he was telling me about his morning routines, right? He wakes up with his wife, they meditate together, and how he forgives people really fast, right? Um, and then one of the things that he said that kind of hit me, he was like, the one thing that he had learned from making a lot of money in business was that there's levels to the game. And he was talking to a friend of his and talking about Malibu beachfront property, right? And the guy turns to him and said, "Yeah, I could never buy a beachfront property in Malibu. There's nowhere to park my jet." And he was like, "That's not even in my house
Right,
shopping
right, right,
uh, calculation,
right.
right?" So realizing that there's always another level, right, and still being okay with that, right? Because, like you said, you feel like wealth and success and notoriety, like it's a destination,
Right.
but it's not a destination; it's a journey.
It's a journey.
And after I think the threshold is 75,000. Probably now with inflation, it's probably 100,000. Where after you're making approximately 6 figures, your quality of life doesn't change and your happiness doesn't change, right? So we think if we make more money, we'll be happier. When in reality, there's other areas of your life, like you said, finance is one, but there's 4 other areas that you have to dive into to
Yes.
really succeed and get to the good life.
Absolutely. And I think one area that is much, very, very important because the quality of life after you reach a certain level of financial success, whatever that may be, 150,000, 200,000, 75,000, whatever it is, your basic needs are still the same.
Yeah.
Eat, shower, sleep, right?
Yeah.
The things that motivate us differently is our purpose, our missions, our passions. Those are our real drivers, and the more connected you are to your community, to your purpose, to your mission, to your passion, to your why, the happier you become and the better you're able to adopt yourself. Much like your friend that you're describing, I have a something that started as an action that became a habit, that became a ritual, that eventually turned into a lifestyle. And they're what I call non-negotiable. They're non-negotiable because they're part of my daily being. Get up in the morning on my way down to, had early meetings today. I'm here to visit with you.
So work,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So I still had very early meetings because I like being productive.
Yeah.
It's part of my purpose. It's part of, what I like to do, right? So on my way to the meeting, I was fortunate enough to have a driver. The driver was driving. I was in the back seat and I was meditating, right? Because I had to get up a little bit earlier, so I didn't have that gap time to be able to do it before I left my room, right? But I did it on the way to my meeting, okay? I journal on the way to my meeting, okay? I wrote my gratitude list last night before I went to bed, okay? I exercise. I'm traveling today. I didn't have time to go for a run, but I did my push-ups in the room before I left the room. So, there's certain things that I do. My schedule changes a little bit while I'm traveling, but my disciplines, tending to the mental, tending to the physical, tending to the emotional, tending to the spiritual, and tending to the financial, those are every day, 24/7. Okay. And taking a self-inventory throughout the day to make sure that I'm right with myself, I'm right with my family, I'm right with God, and I'm right with my community. And when I know that I'm doing the next right thing, I'm a much happier person, and people around me are much happier as well.
I love that. So Peter, so let's change gears and let's dive into AI and Chat GPT and all these emerging technologies. We were texting, kind of what led to this conversation. We were texting a couple of weeks back when all this stuff first hit the news and hit the media and was going viral, right? What do you think about Chat GPT and AI, all these technologies? Like, do you think we're on the brink of the world ending, right, and everybody being out of a job, or do you think this is a path to prosperity? What's your insights?
You know what? I love technology. I love social media. I love science. Okay. I love innovation. I love creativity, and I love productivity. And when it comes to the world of technology and AI, I love it because it gives each and every single one of us an opportunity, okay, to expand on our creativity and on our productivity. Okay. So for me, is being able to give both menial tasks to AI to take care of them for me, as well as critical thinking tasks that I don't have the time to be able to do 18 hours of research. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm able to ask ChatGPT, in this case, Bard. Google just came out with Bard today,
Yeah,
which is also
their competitor.
their competitor, right? So I am able to task an artificial intelligence to do work for me that I would have had to either spend hours doing, okay, or have to contract out, okay, to an expert in the field, okay. And I think
that could take weeks and
it
months.
could take weeks, months, and be very, very costly, very
Yeah.
very cost prohibitive.
And you might not do it.
And I may not be able to do it,
Yeah.
right? Period. So I think a lot of dreams, okay, would die because of that, right?
Yeah.
So I think AI is giving us a leg up to be more productive, to be more creative, to be able also as human beings to do something that we have not been doing for a long time, and that is critical thinking, right? I look at myself and I look at my brain, my mind, whatever you want to call it, as a computer that every so often I have to delete, okay? I have to download, and then I have to upload with new information. Okay. And how do I follow up with new information? I want to be around younger, smarter, more critical thinking people than me. Okay. And mentors that are going to empower me. And I want to be able to sit down and have dinner with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Like we did last night, and just kind of sucked into what you're thinking and what your life is like, because you're someone I love, and respect, and admire. Right. So I want to know what is it that got you to the point where you are. Because I don't look at the world like there's not different levels. Success is success is success.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and success is not exactly equated to financial resources, right? Because not everybody has the same needs. Not everybody wants $100 million. Not everybody wants to be a billionaire. Some people just want to have financial stability. Okay. Financial freedom. Okay. And the rest of it is a number. Okay. How much is your financial freedom worth? Is it worth $100,000 a year? Is it worth $10 million? So to your point, and going back to circling back around to AI and technology, I have tremendous appreciation and respect for technology and for scientists and for engineers. I think it's something that is needed. Okay. But I also have a major concern. And primarily when it comes to the Black and brown communities, more importantly to the Hispanic community. And I say that because unfortunately, my father had a third grade education, my mom had a sixth grade education. So I didn't come from lawyers, doctors, scientists, mathematicians, engineers. Okay. I didn't come from brilliant people. They were brilliant in other areas of their lives, but they were not intelligent people. Okay. So with that in mind, most people that look like me come from very similar backgrounds, right?
Mhm.
We're the 99%. We're not even the 80% of the 80-20 rule, right? No,
Mhm.
we're the 99%. Immigrants are usually come from parents that don't have an educational pedigree, right? So what does that mean? That means that we need to also to continue to learn. We need to also continue to take these tools and not be afraid of them, but use them as resources to help us expand our minds, our thinking, our critical thinking. Okay, to learn and to challenge ourselves. One of the things that we're not doing is we're not challenging ourselves enough. Kids
Mhm.
today are not challenging themselves enough because most of them were born with technology, but they think of it as a toy. Okay,
Yeah.
they don't think
They
of it
think
as
of it as entertainment. Yeah.
yeah, they don't think of it as an instrument to 10x or exponentially grow their life. Okay, you know we talking about schools in Colombia that are very early starters, real pioneers on being able to educate children in the different way how to use these tools and resources, including social media. Well, that's what we need. The world is different. The world is competitive. Okay, and you can have kids out there that are 14 years old, 15 years old, 8 years old that are making the same amount of money. They have the same level of intelligence that a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Okay, and that shouldn't be scary. That should wake us up and say, how can I accomplish that? How can I use social media instead of to be on TikTok looking at funny videos?
Consuming.
Right.
Yeah.
How do I if I'm going to consume, how do I consume something that's educational, something that I can learn from?
Yeah.
I use ChatGPT on a daily basis. I write a lot of content for ChatGPT. I do a lot of research on the Latino community of a ChatGPT, and it's an incredible tool. It's an incredible tool. But I also realize that there's something that technology cannot ever take away from us. Okay, and that is the human connection. Okay, that is the feelings and emotions. Those things cannot, transparency cannot be copy and paste. Transparency cannot be filtered. Authenticity cannot be copy and paste, and it cannot be filtered. Okay, you can't Photoshop that stuff. You know, emotions, love, compassion, those things cannot be copy and paste. Those are either you have them or you have them. And these tools, these resources, if you combine them with being a productive, okay, creative, compassionate, good, well-intended individual, there's a lot of things that you can do in this world.
Well, it reminds me a lot of like when the internet first came out. There's a quote from Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, right? I won't take medical advice from Bill Gates, but I'll take some financial and business advice from him. So he said, you know, every business. This was in the '90s when the computers were first coming out. He was like, every business will become an online business, or they will be out of business,
Yes.
right? And I feel like we're at a precipice now with AI. It's like every business is either going to have AI integrated into them or they're going to be out of business, because it's not because you need AI. It's because your competitors are going to start using it. And then if you don't start using it, then you're just going to fall behind because they're going to have this huge advantage. Right. And I feel the same way about employees too. Right. This is also a superpower for an employee.
Absolutely.
You can be the employee who's the chat GPT queen in the office, who is super productive, 10 times, 100 times more productive than your peers. And then that's going to give you the ultimate job security when they're looking to cut people. It's like, we're not going to cut the chat GPT queen. We need her because she's killing it. Right.
Absolutely. You know, I think what we forget is that a lot of the tools and resources, technology, AI, whatever you want to call it, a lot of it, we're going through the technological revolution, right? Just like we went through
The
through
Industrial
industrial
Revolution.
revolution.
Now we're like in the information age,
We
right?
right.
Yeah.
So what happens with this? I think that if we look at this as an opportunity, that yeah, some jobs are going to be automated, right? Some jobs are going to be eliminated for human to come in, but there's also a huge amount of opportunity. Somebody's writing that code for artificial intelligence, right? Somebody's creating. There's other opportunities that are born out of when something is eliminated, right? We don't need, my parents, I was a crop picker as a young boy. We went and picked apples and we went and picked oranges. Well, there's machinery that can do that. They don't need 12 Mexicans on the field doing that when a machine can come in and replace 1,500 people.
Yeah.
Okay. And those 12 people or 15 people can go out there and create other opportunities.
Do something
better for themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. Instead of picking apples. Okay. Because believe me, as individuals, we have the world's largest, brightest computers right here if we know how to use it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, like you mentioned earlier, we have Google, who just came out with a AI chat tool. Microsoft is heavily invested into ChatGPT, right? And they're integrating into Bing, right? So it's almost like we're at this AI information like arms race. And then we also have like China and Russia getting very aggressive against the US, right? How do you feel these technologies are going to be used on a global scale, maybe a military scale? Do you have any concerns about their regulation or their control and maybe the dangers of misusing them?
Well, I think we're at all high level of danger when it comes to any kind of world dispute. If we were to really get into a nitty gritty war with China or Russia, for that matter, right?
Well, because the other thing, ChatGPT aside, we also have seen in the last 2 or 3 years the deep fakes, right, where they can replicate a president. It just went viral recently. They have Biden declaring nuclear war. It's a video, looks like him, sounds like him. It's not him, right? And this is now consumer grade technology that anybody can go out there and create these crazy videos that look super real, right? So it's not only the chat component, there's also videos that look real, art that's getting created, audios that look real. You can actually train your voice. They could take the audio from this podcast, you train it into an AI tool, and then I can write a script and it'll make me say things that I never said.
Absolutely. So I think there's some real dangers there, Tony. Am I concerned? Of course, I'm concerned, just like I was about COVID. Okay, but I realize that there's certain things that I cannot do anything about.
Yeah.
Okay, and I try to focus on the things that I have an input on, something that I can do something about, and I have to be able to rely on what Mother taught me through those periods. I got to have faith in the system. Okay, but at the same time, not be so blinded by the system that I am not proactive into taking actions to empower my community, which is exactly how I dedicate part of my resources and my time to make sure that I can do my part to educate, okay, inspire, educate, transfer, and empower the community so they are better informed, but they're informed not with a plethora of information that is useless to them, but with tools and resources that are really going to impact their life, is going to better their life, and hopefully make us a great nation. And that's something that to me is a lot more concerning about rather than the impact that AI may have worldwide as far as a threat, right? Because it's coming whether you and I like it or not.
Yeah.
Okay, it's coming. It's here. It's been around for a long time. Okay, I think that what has happened as a result of COVID, okay, the great disruptor, as I call it, a lot of things that have been held back have been just flushed out, pushed to the forefront. They have been released.
Well, COVID for me felt like a big I told you so. It was like all the things. It's like work from home. Everybody works from home. Everybody needs to be working from home. And it's like, what? You're crazy. And now like that's the new norm.
It's norm.
Online. Everything should be online. Education should be online. College should be online. And now that's the new norm.
So that to me, that was more scary. The way COVID was.
It's like an accelerant.
That was more scary than anything else. But at the same time, it has awakened a lot of us as individuals. It made us more free thinkers. Okay, it gave us it gave us permission to become who we are and to truly explore our possibilities as individuals. right? We have more people that have become solopreneurs and entrepreneurs in their short period of time than we had ever had. We had more people that have become creatives, innovators, okay, artists, okay, more people. A lot of things that had gatekeepers. Those gatekeepers have been dismantled, okay, and they have been in a lot of areas of that were unique only to a certain group, okay, have been democratized, demonetized, and digitized, right? So we can take a telephone and we have the world of access. We have access to information across the world. We can do anything and everything from a $999 phone. Okay, and that's a luxury phone, right? But you can do just about anything from that phone.
$100 phone.
Yeah,
they got $100 Androids that do everything. Yeah.
So to me, that's a fascinating part of it. Okay. And the biggest concern to me would be, how do we educate those young children that come from parents like my parents, okay, that didn't have the resources, not because they didn't want to do it, but they didn't have the resources of the deallocation or the foresight, whatever you want to call it, to be able to help us create a formal education, which would have been obsolete for more practical purposes by now, right? But how do we empower the younger generation? And I truly believe that I as a human being, as a person that has occupied space and time in this space and time, okay, I have a moral obligation to see that I empower the future generation moving forward.
I love that. Yeah. So Peter, I have one last question. We ask this for everybody that comes on the show, and that is, what does disrupt mean to you?
Well, disrupt means to be creative, to be artistic, and to not care what the world is doing, but to make sure you're in a mission to pursue your values, and don't let anything disrupt the world.
Disrupt the world. I love it, Peter. Thank you
my
so
friend.
much.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, if you got value from this podcast, I want to give you an invitation. I want to invite you to join our next masterclass. Our masterclasses go through finance, entrepreneurship, business, and everything you need to take your game to the next level. So click the link below or go to disruptmasterclass.com, and I'll see you on the inside.
Let me just lay it out like this. There's the lower class, there's the middle class, there's the upper middle class, there's the rich, there's the wealthy, there's the super wealthy, and then it goes to another level.